We all admire Jordan Peterson for his deep intellect and dashing sartorial elegance. But what does Jordan Peterson think about one of the biggest technological breakthroughs of our time, Bitcoin? It actually surprises many people that Jordan has spent a lot of time studying Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So in this video, we're going to reveal which cryptos he owns, his honest opinion on the Bitcoin revolution, and why its technology, if used correctly, will make you incredibly wealthy. If you appreciate my research, please hit that like button down below for me, put on your lobster hat, let's jump in. So let's start with the most important question. Does Jordan Peterson personally own any Bitcoin? Well, in the hours of footage that I've combed, I could only find this short clip of him answering this question.
You know, I have some investment in Bitcoin because I'm curious about it, and it's a compelling idea. It's a genius idea, but that doesn't mean that it's destined for success.
The very first association I could find between Jordan Peterson and Bitcoin is back in December of 2018, when he switched the donation page from his website from accepting PayPal and Patreon payments, who of course have a centralized control over the money flow, to a direct debit and Bitcoin donation address. He got his first Bitcoin donation on the 22nd of December 2018, and for those who are curious, he's actually received a total of 2.4 Bitcoins in donations since then. Now, 1 week after adopting Bitcoin for his website donations, Jordan Peterson continued his way down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, tweeting out this article that celebrates Bitcoin as the potential bastion of freedom. The article highlights one of the most powerful abilities of Bitcoin, which is of course its peer-to-peer payment system in corrupt and war-torn countries or countries suffering from hyperinflation. The article reads, the Venezuelan regime is now taking a cut of money coming in from abroad. A wire transfer from the United States can now encounter a fee as high as 56% as it passes from dollars to bolivars. Venezuelans have started to receive Bitcoin from their relatives abroad because it's now possible to send a text message to your family asking for Bitcoin and receive it just minutes later for a tiny fee. Now, since 2018, Jordan Peterson has continued to follow the meaningful orange Bitcoin thread. He's used his powerful reach to connect with some of the major thinkers in the crypto space and even produced 3 powerful interviews on this topic. The first interview was with the author of the Bitcoin Standard, Saifedean Ammous. And in this interview, where Jordan gets his brain blown so much, he actually goes and buys more Bitcoin as soon as the interview's finished. He tweeted, Saifedean, I learned a lot and bought some more Bitcoin. Inflation be damned. From what I could see, Jordan's biggest takeaway from the 2-hour-long conversation seemed to be the genius proof-of-work mechanism of Bitcoin that gives it the ability to both store and transfer the value of energy across the world without wires. Take a look.
With Bitcoin, you just need an internet connection. You take the Bitcoin miners to where that energy is, and then you can monetize that energy and turn it into Bitcoin. It's magic.
So what's the net effect of that on the price of electricity worldwide? Is that deflationary with regards to electricity cost?
I think so. I think this is a point that I make in the fiat standard, which is that, you know, we've had fiat subsidize all these dysfunctional forms of energy over the last 50 years that have led to the grid becoming unreliable. And we have Bitcoin, like the vigilante savior that it is, coming in and providing a global subsidy for anybody who can make electricity at a cheap rate to monetize that. And I think,
well, not only at a global subsidy, but so interesting, because not only you could go to where the energy is cheap with virtual certainty that you're going to make more and more money as the value of the Bitcoin increases by investing there, assuming that the value of Bitcoin is going to continually increase, which is a logical presupposition if it's as stable as is claimed, and it's finite in the way that you're describing, and increasingly widely accepted by vast numbers of people. So it's also an investment that's likely to increase in value over time rather than decrease. So it takes some of the uncertainty out of investing in cheap electricity generating processes that are geographically isolated. I just can't believe that's true. It's amazing that I think I must be misunderstanding, because it seems like you can move the value of the electricity magically without any of the problems of transportation.
yes, exactly.
Wow, that's really something.
The second major interview that Jordan has done on Bitcoin was in May of 2022 with a man named Robert Breedlove. Now on this one, you can tell that Jordan has started to do his homework on Bitcoin, as he and Robert actually go back and forth debating the true value of Bitcoin. They talk about a fascinating parallel in game theory about the energy efficiency of kids playing in a game, and how Bitcoin versus the traditional fiat system are likely to mirror this same pattern. Take a look.
It is involuntary, technically, in terms of the rules of the game are changed all the time, right? We don't know how many US dollars are in existence. We don't know the criteria for deciding. We don't know the shareholders of the central bank. We don't know the inflation rate. We don't know where the money is. It's a black box, as I was describing to you earlier. Would that have some impact on us psychologically, playing this game where the rules are changing all the time? And as a secondary question to that, is there any justifiable use case for fiat in human relations?
Piaget also believed that, imagine you had a game that was devoted to some end here, and a game that was devoted, another game that was devoted to the same end here. So two identical games, but here's the difference between the games. The players in one game are forced to play, and the players in the other game have chosen to play. And Piaget's hypothesis was that over any reasonable amount of time, the game with voluntary players would outcompete the game with involuntary players, because some of the energy in the game that could be devoted towards the game, let's say towards productivity, for example, would be wasted on enforcement.
Right. And
it's wasted more than that, because, you know, if you have to force, well, then you also don't have positive emotion working for you. You know, the genuine enthusiasm that comes with voluntary engagement. And so here, an optimally structured social institution, even if that's just one person and another, say in the course of a marriage, if it's optimal, it has a game-like nature. And it's voluntary, it's based on voluntary association, and it maintains itself without external compulsion.
And finally, Jordan gives a 16-minute powerful speech on the true power of Bitcoin when he's on stage speaking with his wife, Tammy. He speaks about how the current financial system is keeping you a slave, but he also gives us a big warning about the potential downsides of Bitcoin.
Part of the reason that Bitcoin is attractive to people is because we all have the sense right now, and that's certainly part of the reason why so many of you are here tonight, is that there's a little bit too much tyranny going on. And that's the collusion of large-scale enterprises at the top. And so there are attempts to push back on that by developing decentralized systems. And the idea that we could develop a decentralized standard of universal value, which is what money is a very interesting idea. I've done what I could to think through the Bitcoin proposition, and it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it's right. You know, I went to a Bitcoin conference a while back, and it was full of Bitcoin enthusiasts, and of course all they wanted to hear was enthusiastic things about Bitcoin, and fair enough, you know, because it's not like I'm a great fan of the fiat currency that allows governments to print money and inflate away value, because that punishes people who are sensible and who make the proper sacrifices. It's inflationary, as you're all seeing right now. It's a very bad idea. And to give the centralizers that power, I think it's not a good idea. Now, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin is the right solution. And part of the problem with introducing a radical solution like Bitcoin, and it's radical because it would change the way we undertake all our trade, is that it probably won't do just the things you think it will do.